Okay.
All right, welcome everyone. Okay, everyone's coming in. Aaron, Aryan, Aaron, Neha, Theo, could you guys stay muted? KGB, stay muted. Okay. We're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. I'll just wait to about a few more minutes just to see if there's any more students coming in, and then afterwards we'll get started.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay. Mm-mm. Shanopa, I'll get you to stay muted, okay, if you can. Thank you. All right. Oh, there's still a lot of students joining in. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. The remaining students who are, joining in a bit late, they will just have to watch on YouTube just because I want to get started on the class. So today, guys, the main focus for me is I want to really spend a bit of time going through every single maths question that we've had this week, just because I really liked the maths questions. Yeah, so just because I really like the maths questions this week, and I want to, make sure that everyone understands it, go through some of these questions as well. The other thing was I also really liked this week English writing topic, because that also is a very useful topic that I feel like a lot of you guys could find value from. So I thought, I'll go through both of those today, and instead of having two 1-hour classes, we will just have one big one. You will have a break in between, and make sure you guys get that break as well. Now, today's class, because it's a longer session and it's because it's an unusual session, there's no need for you to send your questions in the chat because I will be going through every single question. And the other thing is, I won't be asking you to unmute, right? Just because of how many kids there are and how much I want to get through and things like that. So there won't be a chance for people to unmute and then have individual discussions, individual questions. It'll be more of a lecture rather than a class where I'll be teaching and you guys will be taking notes and going through it, right? I'll be monitoring the chat every now and then. So it'll be on my left-hand side of my screen. And then on the right-hand side, it'll be all those participants and things like that. But I won't be, perfectly active just because how many messages there are. A lot of students are asking how long it is. I'm estimating it would be between 1.5 hours or 2 hours. There's one thing I'm quite worried about, and that is a battery on my iPad. If that dies out, it'll just make things a bit harder, but I'll see how much I can get through with it. But, I think it should be a very valuable session. And yeah, we'll get started now.
Excuse me, Melvin.
Before I get started, that's exactly what I was going to say. I will not be taking any questions with students unmuted because there are 72 kids in this class right now, and it would be, totally not feasible for me to like answer every single question unmuted, especially when students are really excited to, participate and things like that. So if you want to send a question in the chat, I'll try to answer it. But again, today I have a mission. I have something that, that I want to get done with you guys, and that's what I'll be, focusing on. All right. So you can send it in the chat if you have any questions. Lastly, the other thing I wanted to tell you guys is make sure you have your real name on Zoom. Over the past few weeks, we've had several students, actually, past few months, actually, we had several students who have fake names. They will be kicked out. So if you're wondering why you were kicked out, it's because you have a fake name or not a real name. So for example, somebody in the call right now has a name called Jay. That's clearly not your real name. So make sure you change that. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out. Or let's see if there's anyone else. There's Sachin Tendulkar and Messi are goats. As much as I, love your passion for sports, I will be, kicking you out as well. And yeah, I think that's it so far. Most of the other names look real as of now. But yeah, I will be kicking you out. And if you guys see any inappropriate names or any fake names, just let me know. They'll be kicked out. Okay? Awesome. All right, so let's get started. So today I'll get started on quantitative reasoning. I'll work my way backwards. And after that, what I will do is I will go through a bit of quantitative reasoning. Okay. So let's get started. So question number 17 to 20. Now, this week's maths questions, the reason I wanted to go through it was because this week's maths questions by far is the closest thing that you will see to the actual gate test. And that's because in the gate test, the quantitative reasoning questions is not just pure maths. It's more to do with, your logical reasoning skills, right? So question number, the last 10 questions for sure are very, very close to the actual test itself. So let's get started. Starting with this question here. So question 17 to 20 relate to the following information. The first figure, the white triangle, this, was randomly generated by computer. Starting with the figure, the remaining figures were generated according to the rule given in the flowcharts 1 and 2. Flowchart 1 is used to determine the shape of the next figure. So basically, this shape will determine what comes next. This will determine this. This will determine this, and so on and so forth, right? And then, okay, so that's that. And it says the remaining figure was generated according to flowchart 1. Flowchart 1 is used to determine the shape of the next figure. So this flowchart will determine what shape the next figure will be. So whether it be a circle, whether it'll be a star, things like that, right? Melvin, you showed swipe down on the top right corner of your screen, switch to low power mode. This feature helps slow down how fast your battery drains. Let's see if I can ask Siri. Okay, let's see if I go to settings.
It will be on settings.
It's done. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, so let's continue. So we have, so flowchart 1, this will determine what shape it would be, whether it'll be a pentagon, whether it'll be a circle, a triangle, or star, whatever shape it would be. And then flowchart number 2 will determine what shading that shape will make up. So for example, whether it'll be a brick shape, a white shape, a checkered shape, a stripe, a thick stripe, densely striped, or okay, awesome, or a checkboard, right? Like a chessboard essentially, right? So for example, figure 1, according to the flowchart, shows according to flowchart 1, since there's a white triangle in position 1 on the above sequence, position 2 must have a rhombus other than a circle. So what does that mean? We have a white triangle, and here we have the flowchart 1, which shows the shape that will come next. So taking a look at this, we have a triangle, and at the very bottom it says, if it is a black triangle, go to a white circle, or go to a circle. If it is a black triangle, if it's not a black triangle, we then get a rhombus. So in the first figure, this is clearly not a black triangle. So because of that, the next shape must be a rhombus. So figure 2 must be a rhombus. Next, using the shading flow chart, if it's white, the next one should be a striped pattern. So taking a look at this, it should go from white triangle to a rhombus that is shaded. And that clearly makes sense here. So you use the flow charts to figure out what comes next, right? So let's take a look at 17. 17 says, which of the figures should replace a question mark in position 3 of the sequence in table 1? So position 3, to figure that out, you look at position 1. Position 1, we have a rhombus. Let's see what comes after a rhombus. After a rhombus, we get a pentagon, right? We get a pentagon. So from the next shape should be a pentagon like this. And then let's see what shading that should come. So we have it was a striped pattern. So it's this striped pattern. So the next one should be a thinly striped or like a densely packed striped shape. So it's a pentagon that is densely packed in. And the shape that makes most sense is number C. Do you guys understand?
Yes.
All right. Next question, question number 18. Which of the following figures should replace the question mark in position 6 of table 1? So position 6 in table 1, before that, look at figure 5. In figure 5, we have a triangle, and again, taking a look at it, it's not a black triangle. So this is a triangle, and it says if it's a black triangle, we go this way. If it's not a black triangle, we go this way. Clearly, this is not a black triangle. So the next shape should be a rhombus. So figure 6, it has to be a rhombus. And then figure 5, it's a brick pattern. And after brick, it says if the shape has curves, it becomes white. But if it has no curves, it becomes check patterned. Clearly, a triangle has no curves, and therefore position 6 should be a rhombus that is filled with a check mark. So therefore, the answer is 18A. All right. Question number 19. If a triangle with a check mark was in position number 2 in a sequence, which of the following could be in position 1? So what comes before a triangle? Let's see. So here's our triangle. Here's a triangle. Let's take a look at what comes before a triangle. The two shapes that leads to a triangle is either a star or a pentagon, right? So in position 1, it could either be a star. Sorry, I'm really bad at drawing stars. A star, or it could be a pentagon like this. And then it says it was a checkered pattern. So because of that, let's take a look at what comes before checkered. So right before checkered, it's a brick shape. So the answer has to be a brick star or a brick pentagon. And the only answer that makes sense is B, which is a brick pentagon. So that was fairly easy as well. Question number 20. In which of the following figures will the next position be a white triangle? Now this one's rough. So let's take a look again back at the flowchart. So in the flowchart, we have a triangle. And what shape gets you a triangle? It's either a star or a pentagon. Now the hard part is, how do you get a white shape? You only get a white shape if the previous shape was bricks and it had curves. Now clearly, a star or a pentagon, they both don't have any curves. Excuse me, they both don't have any curves. And because they both don't have any curves, the answer is none of the above. All right. So I've gone through those 4 questions. If you have any questions, send it in the chat. Okay. I won't be taking any unmuted questions. You can send it in the chat. I'll wait about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so someone asked me to go through question 20 again. So, okay, you guys don't understand how to use a flowchart for 20. So again, the question 20 says, which of the following figures will be the next position? Which of the following figures will the next position be a white triangle? So basically it's saying, in which of these shapes will the next position give you a white triangle? Right. So take a look at the flowchart. If you take a look at the flowchart, what you will notice is that, one second. Harnash, could you stay muted, please?
What happened?
1 second, just give me a moment. Okay. All right. So question number 20. Basically, it says which of the following shapes will give us a triangle. So you have to go backwards. Which shapes will give you a triangle? Well, a star gives you a triangle and a pentagon gives you a triangle. So remember, just to keep that in mind, it either has to be a star or a pentagon. Now, which color will give you a white shading? White shading. The only thing that gives you a white shading is a brick pattern. So a brick pattern will give you, the next shape will give you a white shape pattern. But the thing it says is that you only get a white color if the shape has a curve. But a star nor a pentagon have a brick pattern. Sorry, a curved shape. And because it's not curved, the answer is you cannot have a curved, you cannot have a white triangle. So the answer is E, none of the above. Okay. Next question. Let's go through the previous set of questions. Okay. All right. Question numbers 13 to 16. So 13 to 16, I would say almost every single one of these questions was really, really easy. You should have been able to get this because one, the math it's in these questions were really easy. But two, it's very similar to a question 11 from the last quantitative reasoning test we did. So 2 weeks ago we did quantitative reasoning, and if you look at your notebook, question 11 is very similar to these questions. I think it's question 11, or you just have to double check. It's a question with, it's like something like, a square b is equal to a plus b divided by 2 multiplied by a, I think, not fully sure. So let's take a look, see how this works. Suppose p star q is equal to p multiplied by q multiplied by p plus q, and p crosshair q is equal to p multiplied by q multiplied by p minus q, where neither p or q can equal 0. So question number 13 says, if p is equal to 3 and q is equal to 1, what is p star q equal to? So let's take a look. Here we have, let's write down what p star q is equal to. So p star q is equal to p multiplied by q multiplied by p minus q. And p, it says it was 3, q is equal to 1, and then p is equal to 3, and then, oh, sorry, let me just double check. And then q is equal to, sorry, let me clear this. And, oops, and q is equal to 1. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4, and 3 times 4 is 12. So it's easy as pie. This one was a fairly, straightforward question. You just have to, fill in the blanks and then solve the question. Now, question number 14 is when it's, it was slightly harder, but it wasn't too hard. So basically, question number 14, you have, okay. So question number 14, you have P cross hair Q is equal to 1, is equal to P multiplied by Q, oops, P multiplied by Q multiplied by P minus Q. Now I got this equation from here, as you guys can see, I got it from right here. And it says that this is equal to 120. And in the question it says, which, if this is the case, if P crosshair Q is equal to 120, which of the following numbers will make sense for P and Q? So let's try them out. Let's try out the different numbers. So let's try out 5 and 4, option A. Let's try this out. 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 5 minus 4. 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. 5 minus 4 is 1. And the answer is 20. Now, 20 is not the same as 120. So we know that option A is incorrect. Let's try option B. 5 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 5 minus 8. Straight away, we know this is the incorrect answer because 5 minus 8 will give us -3, and 120 is not a negative number, so it can't be B. Now, unfortunately for us, and luckily for you, we made a typing error where we pasted these options exact same. Option D should have actually been 4 and 5, not 8 and 5, but it just came out as twice the same thing. But that option makes sense. So to show it to you, it was basically 8 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 8 minus 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 minus 5 is 3. And that is equal to 120. So the answer is C and D. Okay? Next question. Now, this is by far the hardest question you have in this week's booklet. And if you don't fully understand this question, you don't have to worry. The main reason being is that if you do question 15, it will take you a long time to solve it because it takes a bit of time in doing like guess and check. And in the actual gate test, you could expect a question as difficult as this, but you should skip a question like this. Because in the gate test, you have 35 questions and 35 minutes for quantitative reasoning. And this question will take you more than 1 minute just because of how many guess and checks you'll have to do. Now, I'll explain how this question works. So P crosshair Q is equal to, remember from previously, P, Q, and P minus Q, which is equal to 16. Now, from doing all these questions so far, we would have realized that usually when we do these sums, it's basically P multiplied by Q will give us one number, and P minus Q will give us another number, and that gives us 16. So to solve it, you have to figure out which two numbers will multiply to give you 16. So there is 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. So X could be 4 and Y could be 4. So let's try all of those out. So if it was option 1, 16 and 1, which two numbers will subtract to give you 1? So it would have, and then that also multiplies to give you 16. Well, it's not 8 and 2, it's not 4 and 4, it's not 1 and 16, because none of them, when you subtract it, will give you 1 on the right-hand side. Then you try 8, then you try 8 and 2. Which two numbers multiply to give you 8 and subtract to give you 2? And the two numbers,
4.
the two numbers are 4 and 2, 4 and 2. And if you were to solve it out, it'll basically, again, to stretch it out, P becomes 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 4 minus 2. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 4 minus 2 is 2. And X is 16. So if P is 4 and Q is 2, P is 2 times bigger than Q. And the answer is B. If you guys don't fully understand question 15, I would recommend you watching this section again on YouTube. But if it's still taking a bit of time to fully grasp it, don't worry about it, because this question, if you get in the gate test, I would recommend, as in, obviously you won't get the exact same question. What I'm saying is if you get a question that requires you, like straight away when you start doing it, you realize that you need a lot of guess and check for this, and you realize that it'll take a lot of time to do it, I would skip it. Do the easy questions first. Like, for example, question number 16, which is super easy. So this, you just have to do calculations. So 3 crosshair 1 is the same as 3 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 3 minus 1, which is 3 multiplied by 2, which is 6. Then we have 5 crosshair 4, which is 5 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 5 minus 1, which is 5 multiplied by 4, which is 20, right? And then finally, we have 6 star 20. 6 star 20 is equal to 6 multiplied by 20 multiplied by 6 plus 20, which is 120 multiplied by 26, which is 3,120, right? This one was really, really easy. You just have to do the math, right? The difference between this question, question 16, and question 15 is question 15, you have to do guess and check, guess and check, guess and check, guess and check. Question 16, you just have to do the math. So for most of you, and for most individuals, question 16, you'll be able to do it in less than a minute. Question 15 will take you a long time to do it, right? So that's the main difference. Some of you asked if you can take a screenshot. Once I finish this page, I'll stop for a minute and then I'll go through it, right? Now we're up to question 12 and question number, oh goodness, question number 11. So basically question number 11 and 12 says, a movie theater gives customers who buy large popcorn and drink combos a lucky ticket with a chance to win a prize. Each ticket has a 9-digit number: A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9. Winning tickets satisfy the following condition: 2 multiplied by the first 3 numbers, 5 multiplied by the next 3 numbers, and 3 multiplied by the last 3 numbers. And these all added together must be a multiple of 10. So to explain that again, basically, what it's saying is that you will get a lucky ticket when you go to this movie, right? Whenever you buy a large popcorn and whenever you buy a drink combo, you'll get a lucky ticket with a bunch of random numbers. You'll get 9 random numbers. And the people who win the lottery are people whose tickets were basically the first 3 numbers of your ticket. If they multiplied by 2, and then they multiply the next 3 numbers by 5, and the last 3 numbers by 3, it will give you it will give you a multiple of 10. So to give you an example, when you do this to the first lucky ticket, so if you have your booklet open, you should open it up to these 2 pages together. So page number 18 and page number 19, like this 2 together. So one second, let me delete these 2 really quickly, or let me move it actually. Okay. So as you'll see that they apply it. They did 2 multiplied by the first 3 numbers. They did 5 multiplied by the next 3 numbers, and 3 multiplied by the last 3 numbers. And when they did that, they got 12, 20, and 18. And when they added them together, they got 50. And 50 is a multiple of 10, because if you divide 50 by 10, you get exactly 5. So question number 11 says, which of the following values of A6 can make the below ticket a winning ticket? So let's try it out. So this question, basically, you'd have to draw it out. So you have 2 multiplied by 3 plus 1 plus 5, which is these first 3 numbers, and then plus 5 multiplied by 2 plus 4 plus question mark, and then plus 3 multiplied by 2 plus 5 plus 3. So let's try it out. What's 3 plus 1 plus 5? It is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. And the next 3 numbers, let's try option number 1. Let's try option number 1. 2 plus 4 plus 1 is 6 plus 1, 7. 7 times 5 is 35. And then the last 3 numbers, Fennel, could you please stay muted? Thank you, Fennel. And the last 3 numbers is 2 plus 5 plus 3, which is 10, multiplied by 3 is 30. And what you'll realize is when you add these 3 numbers, 18 plus 35 plus 30, you don't get a multiple of 10. So option A is incorrect. Let's try option 2. So when you do the same thing with option 2, you have 2 plus 4 plus 2, because we don't have to change the first 2 numbers, right? Like the first 2 sets, because it's already done. So the middle one is changing. So 2, okay. So 2 plus 4 plus 2 gives me 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. And once again, we realize that it can't give us a multiple of 10. So option B is incorrect. Now, one thing you'll realize is that of this first left side, so with the 18, you'll realize that 18 does not change, 30 doesn't change. So the only thing that will change is this middle number, right? The 40, or basically what this is. And the problem is we need to get the middle number to end in 2. For example, it needs to end like in 12. And if the middle number was 12, or if it was 22 or 32 or 02 even, this will give us a winning ticket. But unfortunately, no matter what number is in the middle, no matter what number is here, it's always being multiplied by 5. And whenever you multiply a number by 5, you either get the number of, friends I have, which is 0, or you get the number of brain cells I have, which is 5. Do you guys understand? That's a joke, by the way. Please don't be concerned. It's a joke. I know maths can be a bit boring, so I just thought how a joke. But yeah,
Yeah.
so when you multiply by 5, it'll either give you 0 or 5. So we know that this can't be a winning ticket because it does not end in a 2. So the answer is E. Do you guys understand? Okay. Question number 12. Now, question number 12 is a really fun question because this is a question, again, like sometimes a lot of parents complain saying that, hey, the maths is really hard, the maths is really hard. But it's not. It's not that hard. Sometimes you just have to use a little bit of common sense. And sometimes common sense is often uncommon sense. Not many people have it. And that's what makes it hard. So question number 12 basically says, what is the possibility of the below ticket being a winning ticket? So we have 213, 321, and 45 something. Now, if it's 45 something, we know the possible tickets are 450, 451, 452, 453, 454, 455, 456, 457, 458. Oh, whoops. 488, no, 458, and 459. And if you look at this, there's only 10 possible options, right? Because there's only 10 possible digits, there's only 10 options. And because there's only 10 options, the probability has to be 1 in 10. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So this was a really easy question. You didn't have to do maths to figure out the possibility of this winning ticket. You just have to realize that there's only 10 digits, therefore it's 1 out of 10. That was an easy one. All right. Question number 10. Oh yeah. So I promised I'll let you guys take a screenshot of this if you wanted to. So here you go. You guys can take a screenshot now. I'll give you guys 1 minute.
For question 16,
So Kavya, I won't be taking any questions over the microphone. You can send it in the chat if you have a question. Would you like me to zoom in to 16? Is that it?
yeah.
Okay.
What questions have you done so far?
We've done the last 2 pages. So from 11 till 20. We're going on to the first 10.
Melvin, for the writing,
I'm not taking questions over the chat, as I mentioned to Kavya. So send it in the chat. I'll try to answer your questions there, but again, I'm more focused on covering the things that I really want to cover personally, like things I think that's going to be really important for you guys. And then if we have time, I'll, other ones. Okay.
Melvin,
Aditya, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be, taking questions over the chat. You can send it, over the call. You can send it in the chat. Okay. So, oops, my screen recording's gone. Let me continue.
It's all blank.
Yes, I'll get it on. Okay. Okay, got it. Screen.
I still can't see it.
Yeah, I haven't put it up. Just give me a second, guys. Come on. All right. It's working now. So let me read some of the chat messages. Let's see. Do we stay the entire session? I mean, it's really up to you. Can you please go back to the page? Sec. Can you go back to that page again? All right, there you go. Well, okay, I'll give you guys another 30 seconds and I'm moving on. Okay, 30 seconds to take a screenshot. But the rest of you guys, if you do have questions, send in the chat now because I'm reading the chat now as well. How long is the class? Basically, it'll be just a recap of all of our this week's class. Looking at it, I think we'll be finishing a bit earlier. So good news for you guys. You guys can go home early as well. But we'll see. What was the hardest question again? The hardest question is 15. 15 for sure. All right. Let's take a look at question number 10 now. 10, really easy. Like the rest of the questions should be really easy. Like there's no excuse. The only questions that you guys got wrong this week that I would understand would be 2 was a bit hard. 5 maybe depending on your ability. 5 is slightly hard. 9 maybe. So 3 so far. 4 so far. That was kind of hard. 5 so far. And that's it. Everything else was pretty straightforward. In GATE, will they give you a massive amount of addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Not necessarily. Okay. Question number 10. Adam makes blankets. He can make 7 blankets with 56 meters of material. How many blankets of material is required to make 12 blankets? Really easy. We know that 56 meters gives you 7 blankets. 1 blanket requires 8 meters. 12 blankets will need 96.
Guys,
So basically, I just divided by 7, multiplied this side by 12, divided this by 7, multiplied this by 12. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Question number 9. 9, I'll get to teach you guys something new as well. So question number 9, we're going to learn about the Pythagoras theorem, right? So Pythagoras theorem is basically this theorem that says a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now, that is a bit confusing, but it's really not when I show you what it looks like. So basically, imagine I make a triangle, right? And this triangle here has the left side, it measures 3 centimeters exactly. The bottom measures 4 centimeters exactly. And the long side measures 5 centimeters exactly, right? And with this triangle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square out of this triangle. So kind of like this. Oops, that's a terrible, terrible square. So I'm gonna draw a square. Okay, that's okay, I guess. I'm going to make a square out of the side lengths of each of these sides of this triangle. Okay, so we made a square. Now the left square, because the side is 3, the area should be, can you guys send it in the chat? 9 centimeters cubed. Good job. The bottom, since it's 4 centimeters, it should be not 4. It should be 16 centimeters squared, right? And the right-hand side, because it's 5 side length, the area should be 25 centimeters cubed. Sorry, why am I saying cubed? It's squared. 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 Okay, now here's the interesting thing. Look at these 3 numbers. 9, 16, 25. 9, 16, 25. Those of you who see a pattern, send it in the chat. 9, 16, 25. 9, 16, 25. I'll give you a clue. 9, 16, 25. 9 plus 16 gives me 25. So basically, whenever you have a square, so whenever you have a right angle triangle like this, whenever you have a right angle triangle, the area of this two small squares will always fit into the large square. And that's why the equation is a squared plus b squared gives me c squared, right? And c being the largest side. So the Pythagoras theorem is again a squared plus b squared gives me c squared. So Grumpy is playing hide and seek with Happy and Sleepy. Happy is hiding 6 meters south of Grumpy, as you guys can see here. And then Sleepy is hiding 8 meters west of Happy, as you can see here. So now we just have to figure out how far apart they are. So Pythagoras theorem says a squared plus b squared. So the two small sides are 6 and 8. 6 squared plus 8 squared will give us the long side, c squared. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. That gives us c squared. 36 plus 64 gives us 100. So c squared is equal to 100. Now, what number multiplied by itself will give you 100? And the answer is 10. Good job. So the long side, this side, is 10 meters long, which is B. Question number 8. Question number 8 is a fun question.
Can you explain again? Because I don't get it.
Yes. So which part of it? So again, just for the future reference, you have to send it in the chat because I want to make sure it's fair for everyone, Babu K. But could you tell me which part you're confused about? And if you tell me everything, I'm not explaining that because I know you're a smart girl and there's no way you didn't understand anything that I just said. So tell me which section in this question that you're confused about. Okay, while we wait for that question, let's go on to the next question. So let me get my iPad screen working again. Give me a second, guys. All right. Start. Awesome. So question number 8.
Melvin, for the other question, I'm still confused on how you got 10.
Question number not 10.
9.
9.
Yeah,
Because which number multiplied by itself will give you 100?
10.
Yes, that's it. That's how we got 10.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you're stuck on 36 plus 100. So the 36 plus 100 is just 30, 36 plus 100 is just like addition. So that's all equal to 100. Yeah. Adit, could you stay muted, same as you, Harsh? You guys are playing around with the mute button and we're getting noises coming through. But yeah, so 36 plus 64 gives us 100. It's just addition. But if you're asking me where we got that from, it's because what is a square number of 6? So it says, so let me bring up the iPad again. Sorry, it's turning off because of the low battery mode. Let's see. So it says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's the equation, right? And this short side is c. So c squared, c multiplied by itself will give you 36, right? 8 multiplied itself will give you 64. And that's how I got 36 and 64. Do you understand? Babu K?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the area of the square is 100 centimeters squared. What is the area of the circle? So the area of this square is 100. That tells us that this side length is 10. So this length is 10. And if the whole length is 10, that means the radius of the circle, or half of the circle, is equal to 5. Now remember, area of a circle is pi r squared. And pi is 3.14. R squared is 5 squared. So 3.14 multiplied by 25 gives us 78.5. So this one was really easy as well. All right. Question number 7, even easier. You can mow 6 lawns in 1 hour. You have 21 lawns to mow. How long will it take? 21 divided by 6 is equal to 3.5. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, hours. Okay, next, question number 6. This one's also super easy. Sebastian paid $130 for a red hoodie. A week later, it was 30% off. If he bought it a week later, how much would he have saved? Well, basically, he would have saved 30%. So you have to find 30% of 130. 30% is the same as 0.3, and 130 is 130. So 0.3 multiplied by 130 gives us 39. Or another way is you find 10%. A lot of students were saying this. You find 10% of it. So 10% of 130 is equal to 13, and you multiply this by 3, and that gives us $39. Same thing, option B. That was really easy as well. Question number 5. Leonie had taken 5 out of 8 equally weighted tests in her math class this semester, and she has an average of exactly 78. How many points does she need to score on her 6th test to bring her average score to exactly 80? So if she took 5 tests, right? If she took 5 tests and got an average of 78, how many marks did she get in total? 5 tests, each test an average of 78. So it's same as 5 multiplied by 78, which is 390. So that means so far she's gotten 390 marks. 390 marks. In the 6th test, it would bring her average up to 80. So that means in 6 tests, she got on average 80. So she has a total of 480 marks, right? And the question is, how many marks does she need to go to an average of 80? And the answer is plus 90 marks. Really simple. So take a look. Once again, 5 tests, she got an average of 78. So that means she got 390 marks so far. 6 tests, she got an average of 80. So the answer is a total of 480 marks. And so that means in the 6th test, to go from the 390 marks to 480, she got an extra 90 marks. All right. Last 4 questions. A box of chips has a dimensions of 15 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 8. So how do you find the volume of a box? Volume of a box is length multiplied by width multiplied by height. So in this case, it is 15 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 8, which is 1,200 centimeters squared, right? 1,200 centimeters squared. They put 20% less chips in the box. So that means they only give them 80%. So you have to find 80% of 1,200, which is 0.8 multiplied by 1,200, which gives us 960. Pretty straightforward as well.
Excuse me, my teacher said that it's a cube, a centimeter cubed.
Sorry, centimeters cubed. It's my mistake there.
Okay.
But yes, Mayank, as I mentioned, make sure you send your messages in the chat, okay?
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So question number 3, Jenny picked weeds for 4 hours and earned $20 per hour. So 4 hours, $20, she gets $80 in total. Then she rakes for 6 hours and gets $15. So 6 times 15 is 90. So in total, she makes $170. But how many hours did she work? she worked 10 hours. So 170 divided by 10, it means that she got an average of $17 per hour. Super easy as well, right? Question number one, I'll come back to question number two. Question number one is also very easy. It's basically saying, what is the best buy for avocados? Now, if you guys, this is a simple tip for you guys. I learned this when I was in year 5 or year 4. And since then, I never look at the price tag at the shops. I always look at the price per 100 grams or the price per, thing or price per something. Whenever you go to Kohl's, underneath the price, for example, let's just say you want to buy ice cream, right? And you don't know which ice cream is the best value. So at the ice cream section, it will say, this ice cream costs you $5 and it is, 2 liters. Another ice cream says that it costs you $10, but it has 10 liters. The best buy is basically to find out which one's the best value. You divide the price by how much you get. So this one, for every 1 liter, you're paying $2.50. Well, the second ice cream, for every 1 liter, you're only paying $1, right? So the best buy is the second option. So for question 1, all you have to do is just do 488 divided by 8, 580 divided by 10, 168 divided by 3, and 720 divided by 12. And the answer is C, which is the best buy. I'm sure you guys can do simple division, right? I'm not going to go through that question. It's very, very easy. Question number 2, our final question in maths before we wrap up. This one is another algebra question, but you've done so many of these that you should be professional at them. You should be really, really good. So Aaron buys a fridge, a dishwasher, and a washing machine. Together, all 3 of them cost $1,800. So as I mentioned, a fridge, a washing machine, and a dishwasher cost me $1,800. A fridge, and then it says the fridge costs $250 more than the washing machine. So fridge is equal to 250 plus washing machine, right? Then it says a dishwasher costs half as much as a washing machine. So, dishwasher is equal to half as much, or 0.5 of a washing machine. So what I did, ladies and gentlemen, is I replaced each of this in the first line. So F became this F, and I said, as you guys can see, look at the colors. F becomes 250, so 250W. The W stays the same, and then D becomes 0.5W, and it becomes here, and the 180 stays the same and goes here. So 250 plus W plus W plus half a W is equal to 1,800. I'm going to continue the rest of this algebra on the next page. So I'm going to copy this, copy that, copy, go to a new page, page blank, paste. All right, there it is. So we have this. And then we're going to simplify it, right? W plus W plus half a W. So you have a cookie, you have another cookie, and you have half a cookie. How many cookies do you have in total? You have 2.5 cookies, right? 2.5 cookies. So 250 plus 2.5 cookies is equal to 1,800, or 2.5 washing machine, right? So now we move the 250 to the other side. So now we get 2.5W is equal to 1,800 minus 250, right? So let's do the next step. 2.5W is equal to 1,800 minus 250, which is 1,550. Then next, you move this 2.5 across. So 2.5W is the same as 2.5 multiplied by W. So W is equal to 1,550 divided by 2.5. W is equal to 620 when you do the division, right? So the answer is the washing machine costs $620. Now I know a few of you guys have some questions. So since we've covered everything and it's been 56 minutes, I'll stop the class there for a 5-minute break. Now, I won't be taking questions during the break, but once I do come back, I will take some questions. So I hope everyone just goes and takes a break now and comes back at exactly 6:03 p.m. All right. And in that meantime, I'm just going to quickly run and see if I can charge my iPad or my laptop for a bit.
Little Timmy. Is some kid screen sharing or what?
What?
It's just that, like, if your camera's on and there's no screen share on, it'll show people's camera. So they're
Okay.
You don't touch.
Why? To
That's not
properly.
famous.
It's almost 6:03.
That's sad.
There's like 4 more seconds.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, is he back? Oh.
Perfect timing. It literally turned to 6:03.
What is? Hello?
It's 30 more seconds.
No, for me it's already 6:30. 6:30. Where is 30? Hello? What is? Are you there?
Are they there?
Melvin? Melvin? He probably
Okay.
just trying out his charges. Yeah.
So I'm back, guys. What was all that noise about?
We were seeing if you were there.
Yeah, but I told you I'll be coming back. All right. So I managed to get a few more percentages charged. So I couldn't find a charger adapter that works in the office. So I had to go plug it in my car, but that worked. So I have a few more percentage charged. So this should be good. All right, let me connect my screen. 2117. Done. Okay. Okay. So let's see some of the questions we have. Are we doing this for 2 hours? It really depends. By looking at how fast we're going and how we're getting a lot of the work done, I don't think it'll take the full 2 hours. But again, it really depends on how long my, iPad charge lasts. Yeah, because I don't have a charger on me. Let's see. Next. Okay. Next, for question 1, is the answer option equaling the least amount of money the correct one? Yes, that is correct. Can you explain question 17 to 20? No, we've already gone through that. So you can take a look at the video, the live YouTube recording again, where we go through that, and then we'll be sending the answer key as well. I was just curious that do the Loyola questions have a chance to be similar to the actual gate test? Like, are the questions harder than the actual questions in the gate test? Or are they roughly the same compared to the real gate test? From the feedback that we've gotten, the abstract reasoning is very, very, very close to the actual gate test in the previous years. The reading comp is very good up there. Kids do really well in the writing as well. The maths, it needs improvement, and it's getting closer and closer to the gate test. The last 10 questions that we have, like these logic-based questions, that's what you should be expecting. And that's what's going to be coming up. Okay.
Melvin, are we doing English to English now?
Yes, yeah. Then a few more questions. Okay, what are we doing now? What are we doing? Yes. So I want to go through English. So this week you guys learned this concept called how to be a contrarian. So I want to go through that topic. I want to just a recap of it, because I think it's such a very important concept to learn. And the reason I think it's so important is because in gate writing so far, you've definitely learned that in gate writing, what they're looking for is students who can have an original piece of writing, someone who can stand out from the crowd, from everyone else, right? There's about 6,600 kids doing the test, and you need to stand out from everyone. Now, that's kind of easy to do in, story writing when you're doing a narrative text, right? But it is not as easy to do in persuasive, because in narrative, like, you can have so many different interpretations of what the topic is. So for example, it could be, let's say, you could look at the symbolic meaning of the image. You could take the image and talk about a small version of it. You could talk about so many different ways how an image could like be used in a story. The hard part is to do that in persuasive, because in persuasive texts, if you're looking at a topic, how will you write a persuasive on that topic and stand out? Now, in the actual gate test, one second, let me just connect my screen again. In the actual gate test, you won't be given, for example, a topic that says, do persuasive, do narrative, do this, do that. You'll get a generic topic, and then it's up to you whether you want to do a persuasive or narrative. But how can you stand out? So last week, your topic was, 2 weeks ago, it was an image of a girl taking a photo of her, a picnic. And then that, she was taking a photo of her picnic, and that was pretty much the topic itself. A lot of kids wrote about stories, but a lot of students actually last week wrote about a persuasive. A lot of them wrote a persuasive text about, excuse me. A lot of them wrote persuasive text about, for example, things like social media is really bad. You shouldn't always be on your phone. It's bad for your eyesight. People are not enjoying the moment. They're taking photos, etc., etc. A way you could have stood out was maybe making an argument that most people won't make. So you could say that, again, it really depends on how you do it. But for example, actually, here's a good example. The top student writing for this week, I'll send you this girl's, the example writing, but she wrote a persuasive text. Basically, she wrote a persuasive text that said, that was arguing banning filters on Instagram and Snapchat and things like that. She basically said that a lot of young people use filters, and it makes people feel insecure, and a lot of people, get depressed, or they get other forms of mental health issues, and it's really bad for society. So we should ban filters. That was very, very unique. Like, that was a perspective, or that was an idea that not many people think about. So I'll be sharing this person's topic. Another example is, if you could make the counter argument. So everyone says, young people are always on their phone, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you could make the opposite argument. You could say, well, people are on their phone because you get so much knowledge through your phone, or you could, enjoy these moments for a long time if you take some photos, right? Like, so many people always say, oh, I wish I had photos of me when I was younger, or I had photos of this moment when, we were together. Well, that's what young people do. They take photos, right? And it's not that they don't enjoy it. It's just that things are different in different generations, and you can make that argument, right? Again, that'll help you stand out. So today I'm going to go through how to be contrarian. So in class, for my classes especially, and I think some of your other teachers as well, you guys went through a few topics in class. So topic number 1 was, by 2025's, all cars should be electric. In some classes, we had very strong, 4 arguments. So we had like 9 for, 1 against. In some classes, excuse me, like this one, we had 7 for, 11 against, kind of like a split balance. Question number 2, you had under 18s should be banned from using a smartphone. There was 15 against, 1 for. So in this sort of topic, again, it'd be very good if you can be the one person who goes for the argument, where you're going to stand out from everyone else. Topic number 3, people should pass a test in order to vote. 20 people said no, voting is your right, everyone should be able to vote. 2 people said for. You'll be a contrarian if you go, if you agree with this. basically you will stand out. You'll be saying that, people need to pass a test because voting is a big privilege. Like in Australia, if you need to drive, you need to get a vote. If you want to drive a bike, you need to get a vote. If you if you need to if you need to get a car drive, you need to get a license. If you need to get a gun, you need to get a license. If you want to fly a plane, you need to get a license. If you want to own a boat, you need to get a license. If you want to, sell houses, you need to get a real estate license. If you need to, practice medicine, you need to have a medical license. If you want to be an engineer, you need to get an engineering license. You have so many different licenses, so many different tests for everything. But when it comes to deciding who's going to lead our country, we have no licenses, right? No tests. Why is that, right? So, if you make that argument, you will definitely stand out. It'll be very interesting to read your argument. Option number 3, animals should not be used for testing. This was the only class that we had a kind of a split, 14 for, 7 against. Most of my classes, it was just like everyone was for and 1 was against. Once again, if you go against the crowd, you'll stand out. So in summary, basically, a contrarian is someone who goes against the crowd. Whenever the crowd goes one way, a contrarian will go the other way. Now, here's the main thing I want you to keep in mind, though, is that it's cool and everything to be a contrarian, but be a contrarian, but don't be wrong. So if you choose a contrarian position, make sure your position is correct, or make sure your arguments are strong and correct. So don't make the argument, for example, that animal testing should be used for testing chemicals because animals don't feel any pain. That is incorrect. Animals do feel pain. Or if you say animal testing should not be banned because that's the only way we can do testing, that should be wrong. Because you could say that, well, there's new medical advances that could be used to figure this out, right? So be a contrarian, but don't be wrong. So the main reason I want to go through this topic again was basically just to remind you guys that in gate writing, it's important that you can stand out. So when you do a persuasive, you can stand out by maybe taking a position that not many people think about, which is going against the crowd. Now, lastly, I want to give a warning. If you guys are doing a persuasive text, right? Or if you're doing a narrative or any form of text, it doesn't matter for gate. It doesn't matter for whatever test you do, right? Because essentially, I'll be honest with you guys, right? I mean, out of 1,000 people, one of you might disagree with me, but most of you, when you guys do an English test, right? When you're doing a gate test, an Appleton test, or your 12 exam, you're doing the test to get good marks. You're not there to convince a reader of a specific idea or a specific message, right? And because your main goal is to get good marks, your teacher, you should write something which will get you the least amount of stereotype or bias or prejudice from the marker. Because unlike maths, where in maths you have 2 + 2 is 4, right? English marking is very subjective. For example, even in Loyola, you can get 2 teachers to mark the same narrative, and there might be a variation of 1 or 2 marks or 2 or 3 marks, right? There might be a variation because it's based off a person's opinion rather than actual facts, right? So because of that, you need to make sure that you get very little prejudice or I guess dislike or distaste from the marker to you guys. You need to make sure the marker is only marking you based off your skills and not because of what the marker believes is right or wrong. So because of that, don't write about politics or religion. So don't do a persuasive topic arguing about a certain politician being good or a certain politician being bad. And don't do like a persuasive text saying that this religion's good, this religion's bad, because you have no idea who your marker is. You don't know if your marker believes in an idea, if they don't believe in an idea. And, these 2 topics are very sensitive topics, and you have no idea how they'll take it. So, for example, we've had several students who, for example, talked about the Ukraine-Russia war or the Palestine-Israel war. I would highly, 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 highly discourage you from writing about those topics, because once again, you have no idea who's marking you. You might get someone who's very, very passionate about one side of the argument, or you might get someone who's very, very passionate about the other side of the argument. And you are not there to convince them to, take your side. You are there to show your English or your creative writing skills. So those are the two things I would avoid. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. I'll answer a few questions from the chat. So if you guys have any questions, send it in the chat and I'll start answering them now. So what takes longer, a persuasive or a narrative? In terms of what takes longer, I would say, in my opinion, I would say they're both around the same. It just depends on which one you're good at. If you have a persuasive text that you're very good at, it's very easy to put the structure in. You have your introduction, you have your, 3 paragraphs in the last paragraph, and then you just go, topic, sentence, explanation, evidence, thing. That's very, very easy. But at the same time, it is a bit difficult. How long should your persuasive text be? Roughly, you should have an introduction, you have 3 arguments, and then you have a conclusion. Oh, finally, I do want to say, being a contrarian, I'll give you a good example. So everyone believes that flowers are really nice. If I'm being a contrarian, I don't have to choose a very hard topic. I can do something as basic as me, Melvin, believes that flowers are the most useless plants in the world, right? Reason number 1, flowers cause hay fever, which means that billions of dollars is wasted on medicine, on unwasted, wasted productivity and things like that. Reason number 2, flowers take up a lot of water, fertilizer, land, and resources, and they don't really do anything. Instead, we should be planting food, right? Like vegetables and fruits. And reason number 3, husbands, boyfriends, dads, all around the world spend billions of dollars every year on flowers, which we could use for other things, right? That was a funny reason, but those are 3 reasons which I think that flowers are the worst plant, in the world. Most people would disagree with me, but do you see how I can stand out from the crowd? How that is a contrarian position? So that's an example of how you can choose a nice lighthearted topic, but still stand out. Let's see, what other top questions you have? What are the max marks you can get in writing? Well, in GATE, it will be out of 100, so the maximum is 100. Can you see my messages? Yes, I can see your messages. Can you choose what type of text to write? Yes, you can write whatever text you want. You can write a persuasive, you can write a narrative, you can write a poem, whatever you want. Interpretive. What are the chances of the GATE topic will be a persuasive? So as I've mentioned multiple times, GATE topic, it'll be very broad. It won't be specific. So you can choose whatever you want to write. Are wars related to politics? Yes, it is. Yeah. Is 41 a good mark? It's a very good mark. When we were doing a persuasive text at school, we learned how to write a proper persuasive text with year 5. That's good. I don't like flowers. Nice. How many paragraphs should a narrative have? It really depends on your story, but you should just have your, narrative structure. So your, introduction, your problem, your climbing, action, your climax, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, etc. I did an informative text for writing. I did parts of an I because of the topic. I couldn't believe what I saw. I tried using contrarian. Is that okay? See, contrarian just means go against what the crowd believes in. So if you're doing an informative text about the parts of an eye, it's not really contrarian because you're just describing the different parts of an eye, right?
He ran out of charge.
Was Melvin
Died.
Oh no.
Oh crap. Oh.
What happened?
Wait.
It says
Like,
Felix
I like
Tony is a
Melvin.
host now.
Let's just wait. Just
Is that
wait.
live?
Stop. Okay. So who is host? Felix, would you be able to make me host, please? It's Melvin 2.1.
How do I do that?
So you click my name and then you say choose host.
Okay, so
Let's see if this works. All right. Are you able to do it? So while you're doing that, Felix, I can still keep an eye out on, who is messing around or not. So I'll just get everyone to stay muted and then I'll, take the class while Felix figures that out. So basically what I was finishing off was a contrarian is someone who goes against the crowd. It's not someone who just says, the different parts of an eye. It would be interesting, although it is interesting, I would say it's a contrarian. Contrarian is just someone who goes against the crowd. It's contrary to popular opinion. Felix, you can.
have.
Did you made me
Yeah.
host?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good man. I'll get you a lolly if you remind me. Okay. But everyone else, please stay muted as well. Okay. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes to send me any questions you have in the chat so I can, answer those questions. So send it in the chat. What's the minimum amount of reasons you need to write in a persuasive text? 3 reasons at least. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. It's a classic. Send your questions in the chat. Is Melvin 2.1 a backup screen? No, it was my iPad. So that's what I'm using to, show the thing. Do you know the score of Perth Mod next year? No idea. It just comes every year. Is a place religion? That is very, very broad. I don't understand that question. If you get 80, is it good? Yes, it's good. Is contrarian always the best to go for persuasive text? I would say, so the thing is, contrarian is just a position you take, right? So for example, Mahiban, have you ever done a persuasive text? Mahiban, you there? You can unmute. All right. What is the highest score a Loyola tutoring student scored in the highest GATE test? In the GATE test, we had 3 students who got the highest in different subjects. Once we had a student who got the highest in abstract reasoning. Another time we had a student who got the highest in reading comp. Another time we got a student who got the highest in the state for quantitative reasoning. Nothing for reading comp yet. Oh, actually, sorry, reading comp, abstract reasoning, and then maths, not for writing. What is the chance I get 100 out of 100 in GATE? Close to 0. Because nobody really gets 100 out of 100. You only get even the top mark student doesn't get 100. They just get the highest in the the category. Melvin, for the topic, is it okay if you choose parts of an eye? It's okay, but I don't know how you can write a very, very good informative text. Informative texts are the least creative text because you're just giving me information. You're not giving me something new, right? So I really don't like informative text. That's why we don't teach them as well. What is the minimum score to get a GATE? You need 210 in total, so which is around, I think, 55%. Are you in the Billiton Loyola building? Yes, I am. I'm restocking the lollies, so I got 2 big barrels of lollies. At my other tutoring, they say you can have 2 very good reasons. I cannot tell you whether the other tutoring is good or bad, so I won't make a comment on that. But I would say you need 3 good reasons. Is getting a 38 in Loyola a good score for writing? Yes, for writing, it's a very good score. Should we focus more on persuasive or narrative? Whichever one you feel like you're good at, you should focus on that. The problem with persuasive is that it's very hard to do a good persuasive because you need to really know your topic, right? If you're writing about electric cars, you must know a decent amount about electric cars. Because one of the most annoying things as a marker is when you're reading a persuasive text and you see ideas or reasons that are clearly wrong, it's very hard to give you a good mark because in my head, I'm like, this person's definitely wrong. Do you know what I mean? But it's harder to mess up that way in narrative. I got 16 out of 20. Is that good? That's good. What happens if I'm sick on the day you do GATE? You can do the test later. Is an essay the same as persuasive? Not necessarily. You can write an essay about your opinion about something. For example, kind of like the interpretive text, right? The interpretive text is the same format as persuasive, I guess, but it's not exactly a persuasive. What is the score you need to get into Perth Mod? I wouldn't say the score is very strict, but I would say that if you want to get into Perth Mod, you need to be around in the top 5 or 3% of students in the state who do the test.
Excuse me.
Yes, Anvika. But Anvika, you need to send it in the chat, the question.
That's the problem. I can't send it in the chat.
Okay, but what's your question then?
Is 75% good for abstract movements?
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so that's most of the questions I've answered. So I'm gonna end the lesson there. I'll see you guys next week. If you guys were stuck on any of the questions today, I would highly recommend you guys going back and then watching the YouTube recording. You just have to search up Loyola Tutoring and you'll be able to access it.